Hello and welcome to the Schola Progenium. Today I want to talk to you about a little side game that me and Sam have been enjoying recently. Now I know what you're all thinking. This does not look like it has any tanks in it. However, just hear me out for a second because I think you're going to like what you see. So yes, today I want to talk to you about the game Burrows and Badgers. However, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, for all you regular viewers out there and bolt action fans, I just want to remind you guys, if you weren't aware or you missed it on the community page, that we are going to be flying out, me and JP, to Denmark in just a couple of weeks. We're going to be facing off against Bo Mortensen and many other members of the Danish national bolt action team. I'm going to be filming all that content up for you guys and sharing it with you so you can learn along with us as we sort of test our mettle and learn from the best when it comes to bolt action in preparation for the Warlord GT this summer. So with that exciting news out of the way, let's dive right in to this skirmish game of anthropomorphic animals. So as with all things, I suppose it's only right to start at the beginning. Let me tell you a little tale. Sam, a couple of months ago, he sent me a little message. Check out what I've been painting. Sent me a couple of pictures of some foxes and badgers in medieval garb and armour. And colour me interested, you might say. However, I'm always busy filming that content, working a full-time job, all of that, living life. And so didn't really think much about it beyond that. A couple of weeks later, Sam comes round, filming a battle report, I believe it was, or maybe he was hanging out with me and JP whilst we were filming some bolt action. And he pulls out a little package. He goes, "Bro, I've got you a present. This game is so good, I've bought you a crew. Just so you can experience it and play it with me. That's how strongly I feel about this game." And I was like, okay, man, I'm pretty excited about this, I have to say, now that you've, that says something, doesn't it? So, of course, we wrapped up our days gaming, and later on, I was, had a little bit of spare time to do some painting. And I was ready to pick up the Partisans, which have been an ongoing project since January, and I'm loving the Partisans, loving painting all the different civilian clothes and converting all the different models and stuff. But truth be told, there's 50 infantry alone in that army, and I paint a lot of bolt action for this channel. So I actually decided, you know what, I'm going to take a break right now, and I'm just going to paint these guys up. Sam's one of my closest friends. He's bought me a gift. Of course, I've got to get these guys painted up ready for the next time we see each other so we can play it. So I set the Partisans aside, and as soon as I started painting these models up, let me tell you chaps, I fell in love. There is just something about these sculpts. Even with my mediocre paint job, I hope you gentlemen can see just what beautiful models these are. Michael Lovejoy, the creator, him and his wife are the owners of Oathsworn Miniatures that produce this game. And they put a lot of love into this game, and his sculpting style, it's quite old school. He doesn't use like a 3D sculpting software. It's all done with the old modelling putty, the green stuff, you might say. And post pictures of that on his website, and if you check out, I'll put some pictures up on screen here of the latest Kickstarter. You can see that he has a really distinct style which just absolutely lends itself to the theme of this game. Really, really, I might go out there and say on a limb that these are my favourite models that I own. These are just absolutely something else. And painting them is a true joy, not a chore. There is nothing about it. I was looking forward at the end of a busy day, hoping to be able to sneak in half an hour's painting of an evening. Just couldn't wait to pick up the paintbrush and finish off Clean the Weasel, that's this guy, or Nelson the Bulldog, bodyguard and faithful right-hand man to Inquisitor Biscuit, because of course you guys know that nobody expects the Spaniel Inquisition. So we've talked a little bit about the models and the hobby experience, but let me tell you a little bit more about the background of the game. So it's very simply set in a fictional alternative northeast England, Northumbria during medieval times. And there's some interesting and fun lore in the book, but it leaves it open to your own imagination. As you can see, for example, I've got my little questing crew here, Inquisitor Biscuit and friends, and they, in my headcanon, all met when they were crusading in the Moly Land, and forged a firm friendship that has lasted a lifetime. And then we're just, I'm just going to play out their adventures. Can't wait. We've got old Billy Quickbrook here, the Kingfisher. We've got Sir Roger Hopkins. We've got Nelson the Bulldog. We've got William the Otter. We've got Grub. He's their caster and healer. We've got Clean the Otter. We've got, this guy's name I can't say in polite company, but he is a berserker shrew, and that's all you need to know. And then finally, we've got, now I haven't got a name for this guy yet, I'm just finishing painting this guy up because Sam bought me my starting crew, but I couldn't help but add some more, and I actually have some more in the post as I make this video. It's got a very cheap entry, but I feel like you'll probably end up spending more over time because it's very addictive so far. And let me talk a little bit more about that. Now, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check out the shop, the online store for Oathsworn miniatures. But essentially the models are very affordable. You could easily get an entry-level crew for 30 quid, £30. If you're posting it out to America, there's going to be a little bit of postage fees, but it's a bargain nonetheless. Most of them, all the smaller models, are white pewter alloy. The larger models are actually resin. Interestingly, this big chap weighs probably less than the Kingfisher here because he's made of resin. And the price point it varies depending on the size of the model. The smaller models come in at about £3.50, £4 a pop, and the bigger models come in. I think this chap Nelson cost me £15, but when I saw him, this wasn't one of the models that Sam originally got me, but when I'd already painted up Sir Roger Hopkins and a couple of the others in the Crusader sort of garb, I just had to have the Bulldog. Look at that guy. And I mean, one of the cool things, they've got quite a big range of dogs, and if you're a dog lover like me, I have a Cocker Spaniel called Biscuit, and so I painted my leader up. The models that I've got on order are other dogs. I want to run a full dog crew because some interesting different interplay with having pure species. So let me tell you a little bit about all of that. Now, there are 4 factions you can theme your warband around. Starting off, you have the Royalists, loyal to the crown, of course, and they get a bonus to close combat with a couple of their characters. You then have the Wild Beasts. Now, the Wild Beasts are more druidic. They're living out there in the wild, so to speak, and they suffer no penalty to movement, which is super clutch in the game. It doesn't sound like much on the surface, but it's a big deal. You then get the Free Beasts. They are part of a meritocracy run by foxes, and they get basically extra magic items, which can be super useful. Magic swords, especially mastercrafted armor, all of that kind of thing. And finally, you have the rogues. And the rogues are essentially, they're rogues. You could call them baddies or bandits or whatever. And they get bonuses to ambush. They play kind of like the Finns in Bolt Action. They're all about ambushing and sort of shooting your opponent as they move around and that kind of thing, because ambushing is one of the mechanics in the game and they have bonuses to that. Now, whilst we're on the subject of mechanics, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. If you're not already interested, if the models themselves haven't caught your eye, if the quite awesome setting hasn't wet your whistle, then let me tell you about why the mechanics of this game are so enticing. Now, before I start this section of the video, I'll just say right now, I was actually in two minds about filming, producing, and posting this as content on the channel, because of course we do Bolt Action. World War II historics are our bread and butter on the Schola Progenium, but I just felt I would be remiss if I didn't share this game with you guys, and that should say a lot, because I have a wide and varied diet of gaming outside of Bolt Action that I play casually. Bolt Action's my main game, but if I'm playing a board game, I love a bit of Twilight Imperium with the lads. Love a little bit of AOS here and there. Love my Gits, and I like various different games, but I never make content on those games. So I felt I had to make this video and share it with you. So take from that what you will. So starting off, the mechanics are extremely straightforward. Now, I'm not going to go into all the different rules. That would be ridiculous. Let me give you an overview, a taste. Let me try and give you a sense of the gaming experience. Now, if you've ever played Mordheim, that would be a really good way to envisage this game. You collect a crew of different models, whatever you like. You equip them with various starting equipment, health potions, armor, crossbows, bodkin arrows, broadhead arrows, you name it. Even the mages can take mage pouches and various different ingredients. For example, taking a sprig of thyme allows you to cast haste automatically, whilst a clipping of the lugwort herb will allow you to cure one of your friends of poison or a mortal wound, perhaps, if you're lucky. And then going on from that, you expand your crew as you go. You're welcome to play pick-up games here and there if you want. You can try a different crew every time. But the greatest bit of fun that me and Sam have had over the last few weeks is building our crews up. And you gain skills, you gain experience for achieving different things, and then you can level up your models and they gain special abilities. And there's so many sweet combos. Let me give you an example. In my first game, old Billy here, he managed to find some buried treasure, which was one of the secondary objectives. That was the primary objective, and he dug that up, passed it to Biscuit. He then completed the secondary objective of passing a message, and that was essentially flying off the opponent's board edge. Now, the Kingfisher was a perfect model for that. It comes with the fly ability. However, we got a fair few experience points for that, and over the next couple of games, I gave him the ability Unarmed Fighter, which means he doesn't suffer a penalty for fighting without weapons, and you can't use weapons on the turn you fly into combat. I also gave him Killing Blow, so now, if my opponent has a little caster squirreled away in a little bush somewhere, old Billy Quickbrook can just fly straight over to there, attack him the same turn, and use Killing Blow to just, like a dart, shriek down and kill that caster off. So not only is that a cool combo that Billy's got better over time. He was the little Kingfisher that could. Perhaps he was always envious of the sparrowhawks and the kites and the other birds of prey. He's a bird of prey, he's a carnivore, he eats fish, but no one would ever give him the respect. Well, he showed them, didn't he? Another cool little mechanic is that there is a sort of experience system for if you play your crew against someone you've never met before, and it's your established crew, not just a pickup game with a set amount of points like any other game that you can think of. So if I were to play against someone who had a much better crew than me, yeah, that would be an uphill battle, but I would gain more experience at the end of that, and my crew would level up even faster, which means you and your friends can play individually or as a campaign against each other, and it's just no harm, no foul. You can just play against whoever you want in whatever format you desire. Not only do your characters level up in terms of experience, but if they get knocked out of the game, there is a chance of them gaining a permanent injury, being captured by the opponent's warband, which Sam actually did to me. He captured my toad and ransomed him back to me for an exorbitant fee, which allowed him to then go and buy like a huge monster in the next game that we played. It was absolutely hilarious. But you can also, your models can die. They can lose a leg, become fearless, become, horrifically scarred, and even make your opponents have to roll fear checks when they want to attack you. So yes, there's a whole host of skills and injuries and various different things which just gives the game an incredible amount of depth. The more you play it, the more you realise how much depth there is to the game. But the next mechanic I want to talk about is actually the use of funny-sided D&D isometric dice, whatever you want to call them. Now, the reason why you have different sized dice is actually the different animals. What defines the different species is their various stats rely on different sized dice. So let's say, for example, this rabbit has a strike stat of a D6. He gets to roll a D6. So the highest number he can roll is a 6 on that dice. Now, if he was attacking this mouse here, which I haven't quite painted, is going to be called Martin the Warrior after the Redwall series. He has a defense or block value of only D4. Now what that means is, of course, if this guy rolls a 5 or 6, then this mouse essentially cannot beat him on the defense. But there's an exciting and interesting twist to this which makes for some really heroic moments. And that is, if you roll the top value on any given dice, for example, a 4 on a D4, 6 on a D6, so on and so forth, then you add 7 to your score, which means that although I might have Nelson the Hound with a big old D12 facing off against little old Martin here, who barely comes up to his knees, if this guy rolls, let's say, an 8, double the max value. If the little mouse rolls a 4, he will add 7 to that, heroically blocking the strike of the monstrous bulldog. So you can imagine there's various different stats. It's not just strike and block. There's 8 to 10 different stats for each creature. But as you can imagine, it's a really simple, cool and yet colourful mechanic that is unique as far as any games that I've played, and very, very enjoyable to boot. So I'll mention one final little mechanic that should hopefully give you an idea of the simplicity and yet depth of this game system. So every model has 16 wounds, the same amount of wounds, but all of the different species have the different dice which give them variety, but also a lot of them have built-in special skills. For example, rabbits and hares, they can leap and hop, so they ignore intervening terrain, like they've got a jetpack, for example. Hounds often have the tough ability, which means they reduce damage by a set amount. And you can combine so many different cool things together. For example, if I gave William the Otter the quick shot ability, so he can fire his English longbow twice at an opposing model, I can even cast haste on him, one of the many spells, so that he can do that twice, and he could fire 4 bodkin shots if he wanted to shoot at someone in heavy armour, or he could even be firing broadheads at a soft skin target, or just normal arrows if you don't have the pennies to spend on the fancy kit. But on top of them all having those 16 wounds, There's an extra little twist once again, and that is that they have degrading stat lines, but it's such a simple way to do things. Every time they take 4 damage, then they lose 1 from their result from every dice roll. So for example, if Nelson here had taken 12 wounds out of 16, he would be on that -3, as we said. And then, as you can imagine, if Nelson were to go into combat against a humble mouse, at this point, with him being -3 to his stats, the mouse has a much better chance of besting him 1-to-1. So I hope basically I'm giving you a taste, a flavour of the experience of Burrows and Badgers. Now, this is only a surface level review, one might say, of the game. There's so much depth to the character creation, and I could just go on for hours. I truly have fallen in love with this game. And me and Sam, we've decided we're actually going to produce maybe 6 episodes, something like that, a little campaign, just to see how you guys enjoy it. Now, don't worry, of course, we will always be putting out that regular bolt action content. This is just a little bonus that we really want to do almost for ourselves on a creative level. You see, you guys know we love the bolt action, that goes without saying, but we create content for a reason. It's an aspect of our hobby that we enjoy doing. We like putting videos out for you guys and sharing our wargaming experience. And so we don't want to be backed into a corner just putting out bolt action endlessly. We're really enjoying this game, and we think you'd get a lot out of it. We also want to try out some more creative ideas in the way that we theme and produce the episodes, and hopefully learn some new skills that we can carry back over to our bolt action content. Maybe in the future put out some narrative battle reports and some more themed campaign style games and content. So we'll call it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all that. Make sure you comment down below, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe so you don't miss out on all our regular bolt action content and a little bit of Burrows and Badgers in the following weeks. And yeah, I hope you found this video interesting and entertaining. This has been the Schola Progenium. Thank you very much for your time. Goodbye.